It's Mezz and Mezzia. This last scene, disaster. Disaster. Two Z's. Yeah. Rabula Pandora's box, same time. Di amosheba khutso. Arwantlaela. Emoji. Tired. There are certain rules for me and how I am allowed to behave, and there are different rules for you, Tabang, and how you are allowed to behave. And the standards to which I hold you, Tabang, to are higher than the standards that I hold myself to. And dare you ever even try to call me out on that hypocrisy because Omang. Oh Lord. Give me the strength, Zitobile and Tammy. Once again, what kind of relationships were you having, Tammy, and with whom? Because, baby, somebody can be loving us with all of their heart. But if it is not the way in which I feel loved, it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As you know, the church hug, where it's like, it's a one shoulder, not even shoulder. A one shoulder is touching the other person's shoulder and then like bum out in the air, you know, them Jehovah's Witnesses hugs. You know, you're sitting here and you're talking about wanting kids. Our relationship itself, ke gamors, gamors. And he says wanting kids has nothing to do with that. One lapisa mona or one lapisa, guys. Tired. I'm just still confused because Tammy seems to be a very image conscious person. I am perplexed by his willingness and his ability to film this on television. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rakadi's Views with me. Rakadi Watsona. I give my views on reality. Welcome all, welcome to everybody. And this is the review of Married at First Sight, episode 9. So just to be honest, I watched this episode and I think I was very highly triggered by some of the things that I was seeing. And I actually could not bring myself to do a review at the time because I was clear that like I wanted to just sit and ruminate and marinate on what I was watching before I got here, got a record and got on the internet to give my views on what I was seeing. So I don't know if the views are really going to change. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to give it to you as I see it, the best of my ability. So welcome, but let's buckle in because I mean, this was just more mess, more producers playing in our faces, making television, staring. Ooh, never fudu that pot. Yeah, drama. Yay! Anyway, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Tell your friends. And who I know there's going to comment, guys. I really want to hear from you guys about this episode and really where we are on this journey of Married at First Sight because mezz two Z's. So we open up the episode and Zitobile is at therapy with Dr. Zelda. Dr. Zelda. So she's the OBGYN slash sexologist. And this is a conversation around the intimacy between Zitobile and Tammy. They ask Zitobile, you know, is Tammy making an effort? Do you feel appreciated? Does he listen? She says that he tries, you know, and she will express herself and he'll try. But it was that like, wazama, you know, we want to give him like an A for effort, but for execution, it's probably just like not hitting. But, you know, I think she also just doesn't want to feather him on the TV. And this is validated because in the next scene, Tammy goes to men's clinic, but we're getting there. So essentially, this conversation was around, you know, is there sexual attraction between the two? Zitobile rightfully so says she can't speak for Tammy, and she can only speak for herself. But what she was expressing in essence was that for her, her love language is people doing things for her, number one. Secondly, she speaks about, people can say things, but actions are what count. So I think for her, she will see the love through the actions, not through the words that are coming out of your mouth. And what she is seeing through Tammy's actions is a lack of presence. That, there's an emotional distance. There's a chasm. There's a chasm, guys. Chasm. Emotionally, that is there. And for me, I think she might not necessarily want to admit how big that chasm really is. And so she's not feeling his presence, and that is a problem for her because she just sees him sitting there but not actually doing things for her, showing her love through action. So we're going to see. Dr. Zelda says, would it be helpful to have some tools? I mean, what kind of question is that? Of course, it's always helpful to have some tools. um so she says, can she give them tools around, how to treat each other with empathy? Basically, as I say, my one friend did give me some feedback that perhaps I am expecting too much from these therapy sessions because of the fact that we're making television. And it's like, I know that we're making television, but for me, why, as a production company, are you paying the rate for these experts to come in for the day and film if we're just going to be very shallow in our engagements, as far as I'm concerned? But I'm asking for, y'all tell me in the comments, am I asking for too much? Am I asking for too much? Because this just felt like another, thank you for sharing. Keep going. Don't give up. It just felt like another moment like that. But I don't know, Zitobile, at least it helps to just also be in a space where somebody hears you and you can speak freely. But I don't know what sort of results it's going to yield. Then in the next scene, Tammy goes to men's clinic, and he says he is there because he wants a boost in confidence, because I think stamina wise and endurance wise, he freely admits on television that he will finish, and Zitobile will still be wanting more. Basically, he's not satisfying umama in a bedroom when it's cut summer perfume. It's not going down the way it's supposed to be going down. So, I'll give him some credit for the courage to go to men's clinic. I'm just still confused because Tammy seems to be a very image conscious person. I am perplexed by his willingness and his ability to film this on television. Him going to men's clinic and to openly admit that he's not satisfying his woman and basically not doing the things that need to be done as indoda ekamerin. But he's gone for help. So high five. I'm going to give him that point. He's gone to go get help. Then he also wants to do a fertility test while he's there as well, just to make sure that, he's firing on all cylinders so that he can get Sitobile pregnant the way that he wants to. Next scene, we then have Tabang. Tabang is going, Teddy Bear, Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear Oyahaye, guys, to go and explain to his family that he's been married at first sight. And where he's been, he said that he told them that he was going to plait for work, but in all actuality, he's getting married. So at the house, there is his mother, who is very pretty and still looks very young for her age. Ooh, mama. Ooh, mommy's nice. Mommy's nice. Young, pretty young thing. The mother, the granny, who just, bless her heart, just looks like such a nice, sweet little granny. Oh my God. The granny, and then he has his cousin there and the cousin's wife. So breaks the news to them that I'm married at first sight. I married a stranger, fresh out the box, at the altar. Shock, horror shock. Everybody is just shocked. They cannot believe what they're hearing. The most shocked, the one for me, was the best was the cousin's wife, because cousin's wife, that face could not lie. Maybe she could hold her tongue, but her face was just like, what is this nyols that you've come to tell us? Where is this coming from? Why? And I think perhaps it's very telling how shocked his family is that he's married. Yes, the married at first sight, marrying a stranger is shocking, but their shock just seemed to be like shock that you actually have gone out and have married somebody, like a person, a female, like you married. So Tabang's grand tells him that, she's hurt that she wasn't there, she wasn't invited. And then Tabang tells them that, like, no, guys, look, I know I did things ass backwards. But we're gonna see how the process goes, and if me and my wife are still happy to carry on, then we're gonna do things the proper way, i.e., Reza Mahadi and Obola. And the grandmother was like, listen, she's very happy to hear that because marriage is a very big commitment and he cannot be taking it lightly. So I think all the three women in the family were the ones who were just shock horror, and wanting things to be done the right way. His cousin Mpumi was just like, Jita, if you are happy, I'm happy. High five. So I think generally the family was quite supportive and good for him. Then next, we just get into oh Lord. Give me the strength, Zitobile and Tammy. Zitobile comes home. Tammy is sitting at the kitchen table. She comes and she tells him, oh, I got you bananas. They're your favorite. Not even a thank you. She says she got baby tomatoes. Tammy's like, what am I going to do with those? Guys, I don't know. Maybe it's just because from the last episode, Tammy already is just leaving a bad aftertaste in my mouth. Maybe I'm just at that point where it's just like, this Negro. Anyway, Tobile fixes him a snack and they sit down. Tammy tells Tobile that he's come back from men's clinic. And she was like, okay, what are we doing there? Says no, he wanted to sort out some issues around his sexual performance. And she was shocked that people, go to other people to have conversations about sexual performance. Which for me, like, question mark, because yes, I think a lot of men are preoccupied, greatly so, with their sexual performance. And unfortunately, us women are also there to tell them, Ndota, mouse shota la. Forget about everything else. So, yes, I think a lot of men, unfortunately, are preoccupied with their sexual performance, and at least, he's gone to do something about it. But which begs the question for me, like, when y'all are in the bed together, like, what's happening? Are you satisfied? Tammy's saying that you are not satisfied because either he's finishing before you are finishing. But whether you're like, now, why are you going to men's clinic? I'm confused. And I'm confused by all of this because I don't know what's happening in the bed, and I don't know what kind of assessment Zitobile is making about her level of enjoyment while she's there, which for me is why I would have liked a deeper dive with Dr. Zenda. I would have liked a deeper dive because there's a disconnection that's happening here in the bedroom. Either these people are telling us lies about the fact that they actually are sleeping with each other, or there is a major disconnect, and both of them are having completely opposite experiences. And I suspect Zitobile also has a disconnect within herself during the act when things are happening because, yeah, this conversation confused me. But anyway, then Tammy says no, they said that she must come with him next time. And she's like, why do I need to be there? Then he's like, no, you might be having some impact when it comes to my sexual performance. But essentially, he tells her that he needs babies from her. And perhaps that statement is one that really piqued my interest because I'm not really sure if Tammy is attracted physically to Sitobile. I'm not sure if Tammy actually even wants to be in a relationship with Zitobile because there are things that he has said that just don't sound 100% authentic to who you are. And I think the only statement that he has said where I'm like, okay, this is what he wants, is that he wants children from her. And then I was like, okay, maybe he just sees Zitobile as this vessel to give him the children, but actually liking her, caring, considering, building a friendship. I don't know. I don't know about that part. But yes, wanting babies for sure. Um, wanting her to be the vessel and the carrier for sure. Um, and I don't know if that's just for him and how he's planning to be showing up. But for me, we are even at the premature stage. I don't even know why you're talking about having children because what, week 7? This is week 7. Stranger, danger. You only known each other for 7 weeks. This is where we're at. Anyways, Tomile shares that she went to Dr. Zenda and they were speaking about her PCOS. So she's got polycystic ovarian syndrome, which can make it hard to conceive. She didn't go into too much detail about that. And I think there was some editing that was going on in the scene because there were some parts that seemed like they were cut out. So it was a bit choppy in terms of the fluidity of the conversation. But all we hear her tell him is that she's got PCOS. Tammy's like, I don't really know what to do about that. Tells her he wants her babies. And then we cut to Tobile's diary entry and just crying. Poor woman is crying because she does want to have children. But I think the struggle with her PCOS, number one, is a factor. And number two, she even says she doesn't want to be a single mom. So for her, it's a very big decision who she chooses to have children with, who the father of these children is going to be, because she doesn't want to be doing this by herself. And it's a very emotional and touchy issue because, and I think it's a universal issue. I think for a lot of women, when you get to a certain age and you realize that, yes, I still want to have children, either I have these health struggles or I have the struggle of who's going to father these children, and how can you plan and try and set yourself up as best as you can to provide an environment within which these children can thrive. And we don't always have control over that, and clock is still ticking there in the background, TikTok, and that can be a stressful situation. And so, she's explaining this to Tammy. And then we get into Tammy, then we digress into how Zitobile was acting snacks when his daughter was here the day before. And this then leads to an argument. And Tammy then tells her that she wants things her way and she mustn't act for him. And I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're going to stop acting. So Tomile says yes, meaning that she knows what he's talking about. I don't know what they're talking about, this acting. In his diary session, Tammy says that Uzitobile can be very provocative, her quickness to be emotional over minor things for him is, something that he's not trying to continue and tolerate. And then she says, but you always want the things that you want, I do. But the things that I want, you're not doing. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, where are my flowers? I've told you I like to have flowers. He's like, no, you threw them out. She's like, babes, I threw them out because they were like old and dry and they've been sitting here. I was hoping you were going to see that you needed to get flowers. Then he was like, okay. She's like, where's my chocolate? Yeah. Rabula Pandora's box, same time. And he was like, what chocolate? You're not supposed to be eating chocolate. That's not good for your diet. And she's like, Negro, what? When did I ever talk to you about my diet? Why are you getting involved in the things that I'm putting in my mouth? Then Tammy in his diary entry says that Zitobile told him that the doctor said something about her nutrition and her diet. You see editing because they cut this part of the conversation out. So we don't know what he's referring to and whether or not Tammy is speaking the truth that maybe, when she was talking about her PCOS, that there was part of the conversation where in order to manage her PCOS, she might have to make some dietary changes. We don't know that part, but that's what Tammy says in the diary session. But essentially, Zitobile is like, if I want to choose how much chocolate I put into my body, that is my choice. Tammy's like, how is this your body? What kind of marriage is that if this is your body? Let's just pause. Pause at this point. Because there are many things here, and like, Lord knows I'm getting tired of talking about Tammy and Zitobile. But what we essentially have, I think, in this relationship that I've picked up is you have two people who do not know how to communicate their needs and their desires. Both of them horrific communicators, horrific. Zitobile does not make her needs known. I think that's something that's new to her, which we saw a couple of episodes ago where she was sitting with Bitepo and Bitepo had to tell her and coach her to be like, girl, ask for what you want and then see if he can provide it. So that's a new thing for her. And I think it's clear that that's still a theme within this relationship, that she's not asking for a lot of what she wants. I don't even know if she knows what she wants. Then we have Tammy on the other side, who also cannot communicate his needs because it is clear that in his mind, he has expectations about what being married is supposed to be, what a husband is supposed to be, and what a wife is supposed to be. And there are a lot of assumptions that are in there. And the way that he communicates is but how don't you know this? Why don't you know that when we're married, your body is not your body? It's my body or it's our body. Ganjani? When? Since when? And I think this is why the communication for me is not going to be resolved until they individually learn to resolve that and recognize that in the other, that we don't communicate. Because what for me annoys me about Tammy is that he won't have communicated what his expectations are from marriage and what his expectations are from a wife, and then he'll be critical of the all the ways that she's falling short in these unspoken expectations. It's the criticism and the judgment for me that comes from him that I don't appreciate, because you haven't brought her into the picture and put her on the page, but you'll criticize her and say, this is how you're not measuring up. That your body actually belongs to us. Your body doesn't belong to you. When did we discuss this together? When? Never mind the fact that where is the care and the consideration in understanding, number one, this person has told you that they have a condition. PCOS. This person is not even trying to do research in the tell me more about it. What does it mean? How should I support you as your partner? Those questions are not being asked unless they're being edited out. The only thing is that I still want to have babies, girlfriend. So you need to stop eating this fucking chocolate so that you can get pregnant and birth me my babies. I don't know what's going on here. Thirdly, guys, and I'm telling just people this, as a fellow fatty, Zitobile, I'm here, girl. Talking about people's weight and bodies, and I don't think it's actually for overweight people, just nje. Talking about people's bodies. And when somebody tells you that you are violating a boundary and do not talk about my body because it belongs to me, I don't want to hear your opinions. I don't care. Don't care at them. Don't care. Don't care what you have to say about it. And then still you're going in hard. What other outcome can there be but explosions and fireworks in this conversation? Because she told you she doesn't want you talking about her body, and yet you persist to talk about her body. And how is she going to lose weight if she continues to eat chocolate? Ungenapi. Unless there's editing where she asked you to support her in her journey to health and a good healthy diet, and you said, sure thing, babes, and then she's hitting you with, where's the chocolate? Then maybe you can be like, but I thought we were doing. Other than that, she has said, stop talking about her body. When are you go in again? And what kind of marriage is this if I can't comment about your body? What kind of marriage is this if we can't talk about how your body is actually ours? What? One lapisa mona or one lapisa, guys. Tired. And once again, this has me really thinking, Tammy, what kind of relationships have you been in to date? I really want to know, because there is a very, very poignant and just evident lack of sensitivity that you have for this female woman who is standing in front of you. So what kind of relationships were you having in the past? I don't really know. Where the partners were welcoming your criticism, where there's no care, there's no consideration, where you can also see having these types of complex emotional discussions is just, it's beyond his emotional capacity. It really is beyond. And I'm not saying we all need to be at this level, but baby, you came and you said you wanted to get married. What did you think marriage was? What did you think was going to be happening here? And this is the thing, maybe for all of us, it's the lesson. The guys, this thing is not easy because you are constantly going to be confronted with the parts of yourself that either you never knew anything about because they were living in the shadow, or that you denied and you distracted yourself from for all this time. There's no escape. There's no escape now when we have to be building a life with another person. I'm going to call you. All your shit. And you going to call me too. And this is where, like, we are now starting to, after wedding, we are unwrapping the layers of who we are. And those worst parts come out. If you do not have the emotional agility and capability to navigate those waters, like what I'm seeing out of Tammy, I actually don't know how you can be sitting here and saying you want to get married, which tells me that maybe you have a very naive view of what a marriage is actually about, what a relationship is about. Because a relationship is about building that home, but we're also building each other and ourselves. And that's not always going to look pretty. It's going to look like conflict sometimes, hectic conflict. But if there's a rupture, we have to be able to repair. And that requires you to have a learning agility, that I can make a mistake, see where I made the mistake, and then come back and try again with new information and experience to try and get a different outcome. And I honestly don't know if Tammy has got that capacity, because even Zitobile was like, you're sitting here and you're talking about wanting kids. Our relationship itself, ke gamors, gamors. And he says wanting kids has nothing to do with that. Tired. Just tired. Just tired. If you wanted to be famous, you should have gone to a different show that didn't require as much from you. Because to watch it, it was toko. But I'm not saying that Tammy is alone in this dynamic, because Tobile now is sisters. You are also participating in this madness. You are also there. You are also not expressing the things that you want and need. And then when we would like you to express it, tears. Which tears is fine, but then tears and talk, cry and talk for me. Cry and talk and tell me. Or cry first and then tell me. You know what I'm saying? Two people can't communicate their needs in a relationship. Is this mess that we are seeing here? I'm not even going to get into the back and forth of who did what when the daughter was there, and who was acting, and who was pulling silent treatment, and who was sitting on the balcony ignoring each. I'm not getting involved in that, because, and for me, this poor child, once again, why are we not securing and protecting the children first? This is a very unstable foundation for a relationship, but we're bringing in children to view this and to watch this. And you know what? Maybe some people just don't have the choice. It was the time for daddy to see his daughter, and this is what it is. But, for Tammy to be turning it around and telling Zitobile that she's not considering his daughter, and maybe she was not in that moment. But Tammy, lest you forget your birthday party where you weren't even protecting or considering her. So point the finger because Tobile when she's wrong, but have you taken accountability for the moments that you were also inconsiderate? Emoji. Tired. So then we see Zitobile breaking down and crying in the kitchen. Tammy puts his arm around her with a smile on his face. Puts his arm around her, tries to duduza. Then he tells her, that we'll just have to try to work it out. And then she says, do we have to? Yeah. Babes is tired, just like me. It's okay. Tammy's like, no, you know that I love you. And she's like, I don't feel this love. This love, you talk about it, but I can't feel it. Nka se isupe, this love that you talk about, because I don't feel loved. And let this be a lesson to all of us, guys. Somebody can be, and I'm not using Tammy as that example because his love question mark. But for all of us in general, somebody can be loving us with all of their heart. But if it is not the way in which I feel loved, it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you showering me with all of the gifts in the world, buying me all the things that I love, is how you love. But my love is spending, acts of service and the things that you'll do for me. All I'll be seeing is the ways in which I don't feel loved because I'm not receiving the love in the way that I can understand it. That's where these love languages are coming in. That's why we're talking about these love languages, which for me are not even five. There's more. Let's add to it. We've got consistency, we've got reciprocity, baby, we've got reliability. Whole bunch of other things need to be coming here. But the reason that we need to be learning about love languages is not just because this is the newest fad, in pop psychology of the things that we're going to adopt. But we do it so that number one, you understand how you love, but that you can understand how the other person loves so that I can learn to speak your language, so that I can love you in the way you want, in the way you can feel. Otherwise, that person will end up feeling unloved. Tammy asks, what can I do? She says, be kind. In her diary session, there she is, Tobile girl, crying once again, you know, talking about kindness is consideration. Kindness is somebody not talking to you in a way that is demeaning and makes you feel worthless. Like, this is how you are feeling. This is what you are pushing for, my girl. This person is talking to you. And I can believe that because you see Tammy sitting around and just criticizing her because, number one, he didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get what he wanted physically. He didn't. And so, what is he going to be fixating on? All of the ways that she's not what he wanted. But Tammy also just doesn't seem like the type of person to bend. Sitobile has already said it. He's very rigid. You can see it in his thinking, in his being. He's not trying to change. I don't think he's being challenged to change. I don't think he wants to challenge himself. He likes it the way that he is. And clearly he's been incentivized to stay the way that he is because nobody seems to have brought this up. Once again, what kind of relationships were you having, Tammy, and with whom? Because B. And so she's crying because there's no kindness. And I don't know, is kindness something that you can teach somebody? And I never used to, we all have the lists. Yeah, guys, we all have the lists. And for me, I'm not going to scratch out lists because a list should be principle driven and tell you what your values are. And I remember I was discussing this with another one of my friends, and she was like, she's been married for 15 years and, highs and lows of marriage, but generally a very healthy partnership. And this is her second marriage. And she told me that what she had learned from the demise of her first marriage was that it is very important that your partner be kind. And I don't know if kindness is something that we can teach fully grown adults, biological age, fully grown adults. I don't know. This is a question. I'm putting it on the floor. Is kindness something that can be taught? I don't know. Can it be cultivated and how? In which kind of environment? I could say, but she wants kindness. Poor girl. It's rough. Then there's a knock on the door. They get a letter where they're basically being evicted out of the apartments. So the honeymoon is over. They now actually have to go to their real lives and basically see if these relationships can work. Question mark, we don't know. Then we moved to Tammy meeting Tobile's family, and everybody was so welcoming. They were all shocked when she told them that this was her husband. Very shocked, but a very different energy, I think, in terms of the reception that Tammy got from Zitobile's family versus what Zitobile got from Tammy's family. And not to say Tammy's family weren't, welcoming in the end, but I think there was certainly the implication of a lot more expectations from Uzitobile in terms of what she should and shouldn't be doing as a wife. And with Tammy, I think Zitobile's family just, extended open arms and just welcomed him. Um, no questions asked. Then we have Dee and Kuto sitting on the couch, and Dee is telling Kuto that, she's very upset. She didn't like the way that he had spoken to her earlier, and she sent him this long text message, and she's like, basically, what's your feedback on that? Then she's like, before you even answer that question, let's go to love languages. What's my love language? Crickets, Kuto, crickets. He can't remember. Then he says, what are the love languages again? Remind me. And D is like, this is the problem. Exhibit A. And you know what? For once, I'm going to be here on D's side, because if you are not interested in learning these types of things, in understanding me, in understanding you, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Are we just here to eat bums, guys? That's what we're here for when we're in marriage, when we married on first sight. And for me, I actually was quite disappointed in Kuto myself. But now I stayed with Dee, because she was like, how are you then going to know how to love me if you can't even remember that? That quality time is what I like. And then he's like, okay, my bad. Let's make time. We're gonna go grocery shopping. I don't know. I guess it's a win because Dee likes grocery shopping. And we'll go grocery shopping together. Cool. D is now meeting Kuto's family, which is his mother and his sister, I think, and the sister's child. There was a random child, a little baby toddler there. Nobody told us who it was and what it was. What was telling for me and a question mark? Kuto greeted his mother with like a handshake, bazalwane hug. Guys, you know the church hug where it's like, it's a one shoulder, not even shoulder. A one shoulder is touching the other person's shoulder, and then like bum out in the air, them Jehovah's Witnesses hugs. And I was like, what? And it just looked so awkward and uncomfortable because they were trying to Tetris, and the Tetris wasn't Tetrising as far as the hug went. I don't know what was going on there, but telling. And then his sister or cousin also comes and handshake. And, like when we both, one person is handshaking, the other person's going for a hug. And then we switch, and then the other one goes for the hug and the handshake. And it's just like, awkward. Awkward. And I think even Kuta made the comment, is like, why are we greeting each other like we're strangers? I am also asking that question because y'all are greeting each other like strangers. Like, this is the first time you've had to navigate a hug amongst each other. And that's just so uncomfortable. My Lord. Yeah. Anyway, they all sit down. He introduces D, and the mother's like, listen, you know that he has a child. And she's like, yeah, I've got a child too. And I think the mother's concern is similar to D's mom's concern, is that how are you two people going to be navigating having children and then having to live with each other and navigating the other co-parents and the expectations around that. And I think, these are valid questions, because I think, for Kuto and D, they are in a different situation compared to the other couples, because they have children, because, they have co-parents, and there's the orbits, it's not just them, there's two planets, there's a lot of other planets orbiting around them. And so the mother's concern was, if Kuto's daughter comes to live with you, are you going to be okay with that? Or and say that you don't want to live with a child anymore? And Dee's like, no, I'm going to accept her. And the mother's like, listen, you young girls are not trustworthy. And, it is a bit of a valid concern, because there are quite a few scenarios, I know of them too, where, and the Basadi Lorona, this is sometimes where we're out of line and we don't necessarily call each other on that, where I can come in with my child and I can live with you as husband and wife and happy family. But husband, I don't want your child living with us. Why? You found him with a child. Why would you not want that child to be living with their father? And I think in situations where things like that happen, it says a lot about that person's values. Full stop. Then the mother's busy asking, can D cook katrifuti, because they're a big family. And when the family comes, she can't be cooking on a gas stove because, you need to be doing the big pots, which, I don't know. Maybe it's just the more that we fight this as women, our resistance might not really be getting us anywhere because it's just very evident that the theme that's running through here is that these men be expecting us to cook, and so do their mothers, and so do their families, and so do their uncles. And God forbid we come in and we say that we're not cooking because it's the theme. It's the theme. It's just, if you can't cook, you are musadi. Musadi wa pega. When I was appearing, we don't know, but that is the general theme. Then we go to, hey, another just the Popeye. Popeyes. Tabang is meeting Makumo's family. So it's Makumo's mother and the uncle, and then a couple of other people that we don't know. They get to the venue first, they sit. Tabang arrives first with his mother, and I think the grandmother, I can't remember. Excuse me, Makumo's not there, so Tabang has to introduce himself and just does, a round of highs. Hi everybody, hi everybody. And then Makumo's there. They sit down. You can see Makumo's mother, Onali, she's not doing well. She's not doing well. Mentally, physically, emotionally, utinegile. So they sit down, and the first thing is just like, why would people be getting married at first sight? Like, what is this, and where is this coming from? What was very interesting about the scene as a whole was Makumo, who has been so outspoken and such a defender of her right to express and to be and to tell us who she is and be assertive in that, was very docile in this meeting. She basically sat there while her mother and her family fired off questions about what the hell is this? And she left Tabang out to dry to answer those questions all by himself. Worst. At least Tabang went and told his family one on one, I'm married at first sight, this is what it is. Makumo, there were other family members there who you could see hadn't even been told about this marriage. This is the first time they are encountering this. I married somebody off the streets. And she sat there, and if you paid attention to her face and her disposition, regressed into a little girl who was scared of her mother, who had disappointed her mother. And even Tabang commented, he's like, I've never seen you this quiet before. Like, why are you so quiet? Usually you're speaking. She sat there and said nothing. And she let Teddy Bear take the heat alone. In her diary session, she says, yes, they were asking valid questions. It's questions that they would want answers to as well. Didn't say that in front of her mother. Didn't say that to her mother's face. Had none of the smoke, had none of the answers. Left Tabang out to dry. Girl, that was wrong. Wrong go, wrong go. And this is the thing with Makumo. It's not what's good for the goose is good for the gander. There are certain rules for me and how I am allowed to behave, and there are different rules for you, Tabang, and how you are allowed to behave. And the standards to which I hold you, Tabang, to are higher than the standards that I hold myself to. And dare you ever even try to call me out on that hypocrisy, because Omang, that's when I'm going to go rara and I'm going to explode and I'm going to be defensive because I do not possess the emotional maturity for this kind of level of commitment. No heat, no shade, but like Makumo, emotionally, you are not ready for this. And it is evident. It's evident in the way that you're moving, in the way that you're being. At least I'll give it to her mother, Makumo's mother, who, for her, she was like, I can't say that I love Tabang because this is the first time that I'm meeting him. So I'm not going to give you any of that false love. But how it's going to play out. They asked Tabang's mom, and she's like, this is also coming as a shock to me, but, I love Makumo already. And basically, we're going to support Tabang and Retabona Horba fella guy, but it's their decision at the end of the day. Um, and we'll see how things are going to be done. Um, but yeah, no, Makumo, foul the way you hung him out to dry. And you wouldn't have liked it if he did that to you. That's what I know for sure. You wouldn't have liked it. So my concern with this relationship is that I don't know if they both fully invested and committed in the same ways. It's not seeming that way. Um, I think Tabang, I'll give him credit. I think he is trying. And I think he is willing that Tabang has a willingness to learn. He has a willingness to be wrong. He has a willingness to apologize where he is wrong. And he has a willingness to express and say that if there's things that I don't know, I don't know. If there's things that I haven't figured out, I haven't figured out, but I'm willing. And I don't know if I can really say the same for Makumo. So then we get into the full launch, where people are being launched, guys, strong by production. The final scene. So in this final scene, everybody's gathered for a little get together, and they are completing this golden envelope exercise where everybody has written down questions that they're going to read to each other, i.e., production, steering, masoka pizza, ya motswako, to get it started. Fine. There's some discussion about, how we need to be answering questions honestly, because based on how the exercise went the last time, some of these questions were out of line and out of order, but let's just try to be honest and transparent. Makumo says she's not going to do that because some of these questions, are character assassinations. She's not wrong. But she's only going to answer what she feels like answering, and like, screw that. Fine. So they ask if Tammy would be able to defend Zitobile if, people came to start something irrelevant next. Then they ask Makumo if she regrets entering the experiment, and she says that she does. And she doesn't regret meeting Tabang or meeting any of the other participants. But why she regrets entering it is because it's been such an invasion of privacy. There are people in her space. There are people asking her questions. Lights, camera, action, 24 hours, 7 days of the week. And she was not prepared for that. And that's the part that she doesn't like. Which for me, fair enough. Even though you signed up for a TV show. But I'll give you some grace that maybe, in your head, you're thinking it's going to be one way. And in reality, maybe the experience is a lot worse than you had anticipated. That happens to all of us. It's life. But then they ask in particular, how does she feel like she wasn't accommodated? I think it was Sebenzile who asked her that. And she said they're not accommodating her schedule. Then Buitepo steps in and is just like, but wait a minute. You actually have been accommodated quite a lot because even our families have been inconvenienced. It was like my wedding was supposed to happen on a Saturday. It got pushed to a Sunday because they were trying to accommodate you. So, maybe you should reconsider your answers because you are actually being accommodated more than anybody else. The rest of us are having to shuffle around for your schedule. And you've been accommodated, girl. You've been accommodated. People have been trying to think for you and fit you in where they can. Makuma then loses it. And I think I'm not going to get too much into this. Those who really want to watch, you can just go view this clip. I think it's like the last 10 minutes of the episode. Because I don't even just want to give her the airtime. O re boleletse ka episode 1 gore o makgaga. This was exhibit B, C, D, and E, and F. O makgaga, girl. No. That's where you told us the truth. Her response, her defensiveness, was then to tell Ubuitepo that she can hear and appreciate what Buitepo's saying, but how she feels has absolutely nothing to do with her. Full stop. This is the emotional immaturity that's a problem. It's just a lack of awareness of others. It's this is my world and you're all living in it mentality. I don't know, Tabang, my brother. I don't know gore le ko kae hona jwanong in the real world and how things have ended up. But I'm not just going to put it down to emotional immaturity. Yes, that's a big part of it. But sometimes you're just out of order and out of line. And there was really no need to be speaking to anybody the way that she was speaking to them. Buitepo came cool, calm, and collected to tell her that she must reconsider her answers about the schedule being moved around. Makumo's busy saying it's slander, and then, Ramokhatile di cons, and we poked the bear, and then the bear came out just swinging. Unacceptable behavior in my box. The response was not aligned to whatever activated it. And whenever that generally tends to happen, then it means that beneath that, underneath that, honale a big insecurity that we are trying to cover by putting up this wall of aggression. And so I think, my K, in your spare time, if you are willing and open, that's some things maybe you can reflect on. I don't know how she feels watching herself back in these episodes. I'd be curious to know. But in this one in particular, there was just a lack of care, kindness, consideration, and it was rude. And maybe misdirected, because maybe where her frustrations should be directed is at production, but even them, what can they do? Because you signed on the dotted line to come to the show. So I don't know, girl. Reach out to an expert and maybe get into a therapy session next episode. I hope so. Then the real pot stirring was Tabang picking up an envelope and asking Kuzo if he was to have a threesome with any of the other wives, who would he choose? Kuzo then says Buitepo. Would have been great if we left it there, but D then asks, why Buitepo? Babes, if you had seen Tabang's face, eyes like this, because he knew. D, why are you asking that question? Because you're not gonna like the answer that's about to come out. Then Kuto explains rationally that, no, Buitepo goes to the gym, she's got a fit body, and that's the kind of, physique that I'm normally attracted to. Hi, D now is having problems with that, and she's like, how? Seven Zile comes in with some maturity, and he's like, listen, at the end of the day, we were paired up with people here. We didn't choose them. They were chosen for us. So it's perfectly rational to think that, there's certain things that I wanted and I might not have gotten them, but maybe I was paired with somebody who's going to give me what I need rather than what I want. And that's fair. That's mature. It's fair. Oh, no. Then Tabang, the bonfire wasn't firing enough. Wabana no sachesi enough. Our petrol. Tabang then asks Buitepo who she would, out of the three guys, who she would marry, kill, and bone. She says that she would kill Tammy. I mean, obvious. Then she says she would marry and bone Kuto. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that thing where she said she'd bone Kuto, I was like, yeah, I think you are trying to just get under D's skin. But okay, girl, ain't nothing wrong. What are we gonna say? But yeah, so she says no, she'd marry Kuto and she'd get into the bedroom and do the things and swing from the chandeliers, Kuto. Hi, then D's like, hi, Seven Zile, it seems like, your wife and my husband, babatana. These people like each other. We shouldn't be surprised in a couple of, months if we're left out in the cold and these two have hooked up because clearly, khale ba kgalelana. Why would you say that? Like, why? Girl, for me, D, girl, I'm trying to be with you when you're right, but when you're wrong, you're so wrong, girl. Like, and you are also creating. You are the creator of these blowouts. You are the creator of just this sabotage left and right. You are the creator of your own suffering in these instances. And it breaks my heart to see you doing this to yourself. It really does, because you didn't even need to ask the question of why Buitepo. You didn't need to ask that question. Whatever the answer was, it wasn't going to be great, but at least Kuto uzamile to give a rational, practical answer for this person, Wajima. It's a fit body that I like. Anyway, Dee loses her mind. No, her and Sebenzile are going to be out in the cold because Kuto and Buitepo Babatana, they're going to be all over each other. Then Kuto's like, no, clearly, Dee saying that because she doesn't trust our relationship. Dee, amosheba Kuto. Arwantlahela. Hits the roof, bitch. Hits the roof. Says he's throwing her under the bus during the people. How dare he do this? She's not gonna stand for this. They've spoken about this before. And he was like, what is happening? What is going on? And she was like, you're talking about not trusting in the relationship. This is news to me. You're blindsiding me during the people. And he was like, we were having a conversation. You just made the statement that me and Buitepo rakhalelana here. You said that. And she was like, but I was just joking. Then Kuto was like, but so was I. Dee can't believe what she's hearing. And Kuto's like, so it's okay for you to joke. You are the only person who writes. You've cornered the market of jokes. I can't joke. Dee then gets up, teary-eyed, emotionally triggered, and tells us, I won't do that. I can't. And she storms out. Now, I don't want to feel or appear to be unfeeling. But D girl, you did this to yourself. Like, you did this to yourself. Unfortunately, Basadi Lorona, once again, why do we have, and I don't think it's actually Basadi, I think it's actually just people. I think what this episode was highlighting is the ways in which we have standards to which we uphold other people that we're in relationship with. And we don't even meet those standards. And I say that knowing that I'm guilty sometimes of this, but this was a good reminder. And I think it's something that we needed to see. And maybe it's something that we can also reflect on. Zitobile and Tammy, are you actually communicating effectively and clearly and with respect your needs? Are you communicating your needs to the people in your life, not just in romantic relationships? What standards are you holding people up to that you yourself cannot even follow? And then rake them over the coals. What assumptions and expectations do we hold for people that we don't communicate? And when they make the mistake or when they fall short, we will be there ready to rake them over the coals. Because then you just leave people like poor Kuzo sitting there looking left, right, and middle center, confused at what the hell is going on, because I thought we were all just having a good time answering these ridiculous, triggering questions that were written by production. It's Mezz and Mezzia. This last scene, disaster. Two Z's. And that's all I've got for you with Married at First Sight, guys. If they're going to have a reunion, I'm really going to need a presenter that's going to bring it and really be asking the proper questions and really be holding people accountable, because there is so much here that we can work with. But I don't know. Therapists, please step in. Please step in. D, girl, you've been telling us you've been in therapy. I don't know the point that you started therapy from and what your life was looking like. So I don't want to take away any of your wins from you. But baby girl, okay, book some sessions. I hope as soon as filming wrapped, you booked some sessions because it is clear you are sabotaging yourself and there are some beliefs that are driving this behavior. You are so emotionally charged and sensitive, and yet you are trying to appear like you're strong and you've got it together. And baby girl, you don't, because you are looking crazy on the television. Crazy. And I'm not going to deny that only aftertaste of producers producing in the background. But you're also giving them material to work with. Anyway, I don't know. Tell me what you guys thought in the comment section about this episode. But my lord, hey, we move forward, guys. We move forward with Married at First Sight, and I will be here with the next review of episode 10. In the meantime, spread love, not hate. Ciao.